Today we're looking at the 4K UHD Blu-ray release of the 2005 psychological thriller, none other than Red Eye, starring Rachel McAdams and Cillian Murphy and also Brian Cox. This was directed by legendary horror filmmaker director Wes Craven. And this was my first time watching the film. Surprisingly, even to me, I was surprised, like, why haven't I watched this film before? But this was my first time watching it, and I've got some thoughts on the film, and I've also got some thoughts on the 4K transfer, and I'm gonna get some thoughts on how it fits into Wes Craven's filmography. But in this video, we're gonna talk about that. And if you would go ahead and like this video, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Now, this is again a 2005 film that takes place predominantly on an airplane. I would estimate maybe like 80% of it takes place on an airplane, and there's a lot of other films, especially in the mid-90s, that took place on airplanes that I saw a lot of those in the theater. And there's also a film called Airplane, which is friggin' hilarious, that was in the 80s that takes place on an airplane. But these, when I think about these kind of psychological or action thrillers taking place on airplanes, there were a lot of them that kind of happened around, and that was like 10 years before this or so. Like, say, Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes, which I think I saw that one twice in the theater. Not that it's a great film, but it's a great film. Not in a good way, but it's like just an entertaining film. And also Air Force One, which is a better film than Passenger 57, but I think Passenger 57 is probably more entertaining. And then there's Con Air, which is even more ridiculous, and also Executive Decision with Kurt Russell and a supporting role by Steven Seagal, and Steven Seagal gets killed surprisingly in the first 20 minutes, which everyone was really surprised when that happened. But this one does take place on an airplane, and that's maybe one of the reasons why I never saw it. And I don't think I quite connected that it was directed by Wes Craven. Now, Wes Craven, I'm a big fan of his work, especially the film A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I recently did a review on this 4K release of A Nightmare on Elm Street. You can check that out on my channel. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. Now, this is a fairly slick film, and it has a very tight script. It's not quite what you would expect it to be. Now, this film it was in 2005, which is after 9/11, and that's what kind of, maybe that's another reason why I never saw it, because I definitely wasn't, the whole airplane, being on an airplane thing at that point was completely different than the 1995 like films, because it just became more of a, they can't do that on a plane. No. The plot is not quite what you'd expect. It's not like about a hijacker on a plane, thankfully. It is about an assassination attempt of a political figure. That the plot's a little contrived. It is a little contrived, but it's written in a way that it kind of disguises the convolutedness of the plot. So they're trying to assassinate. Cillian Murphy plays the main villain, and he's part of a group of people who are trying to assassinate this politician. The politician's not a major character. He's seen a few times, but Rachel McAdams. Now, Rachel McAdams plays the main character here, and for some reason she reminds me of Jennifer Gardner. Let me know if she reminds you of Jennifer Gardner as well. If you would write that in the comment section below. But she reminds me of her a little bit, and Rachel McAdams does have this fantastic smile, and she's got these dimples when she smiles, and her eyes are just mesmerizing. But Rachel McAdams' character works for this hotel, and there's some kind of, she's not at the hotel this night because she had to go to her grandmother's funeral. That's why she's on the plane. But the assassination attempt's taking place at this hotel. But since she's on the plane now, the assassin, played by Cillian Murphy, has to target her. So he follows her on the airplane, and he ends up getting. He contrives to be able to get the seat next to her. He's in the airport, and he talks to her, and he even kind of flirts. And so it seems like it might be like a kind of a meet cute situation, which would have been cool too. But yeah, he's targeted her. And he needs her to make this phone call to get this guy moved to a different room so they can assassinate him. So all of that's really contrived, kind of, but you don't think about it too much because of the way that there's a good chemistry between Cillian Murphy. So Cillian Murphy I think most people probably know him from Peaky Blinders. Now, I first saw him in 28 Days Later, and then which was a kind of a very kind of like The Walking Dead. It kind of starts out just like The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead, but then later on he played the Scarecrow in Batman Begins. But here he turns in like another. Well, Batman Begins he was a villain, but in 28 Days Later he wasn't. But here he's a villain. But it starts out as kind of a meet cute, and they do have some pretty good chemistry together. And then he's pretty menacing once he reveals himself to be a villain. Now I'm not going to go into all of the plot, even though I do want to pick it apart. I just really want to pick it apart. But I will say that it is tense. There's a lot of tension in the film. As far as like being directed by Wes Craven, I don't know. I don't really feel that in the film. Now, I don't feel. I mean, most of Wes Craven's films are horror. Almost all of them. This does have not really horror, but it does have that suspense edge to it. But this one looks a lot. It looks a lot more, I guess, produced as far as the way that it looks. It does look like. I don't know. It almost feels like maybe the studio was behind it to make it look more polished in a way, because it doesn't seem very raw like some of his other films felt a little raw, like The Last House on the Left, or some of his earlier films like The Hills Have Eyes and those sort of things. It doesn't have that kind of edge to it, though I think it is very, very well done, but it doesn't really push any boundaries, and it kind of, in some instances, it may feel almost like it kind of the movie of the week a little bit with a higher budget. But the performances by the main actors do elevate this to a different level. Just to throw this out there too, and this was pretty awesome, that Wes Craven near the end of his career did all of a sudden pop out with Scream, and he did the first 4 Scream movies, and this kind of revitalized his career near the end there. But this Red Eye film was one of his last films as well. It was one, I think he only did like 2 more after this one, like Scream 4 and then one other film. But this is a Paramount release, and that did previously receive a Paramount Presents release. Now Paramount Presents release is now out of print. Paramount Presents, it's kind of like a I guess a limited edition release they put out before they put out the normal ones like this, where this has a slipcover, which is pretty decent slipcover. I do like the cover art. I think that might be the original poster. We got 2 discs. We got a 4K and a Blu-ray disc, and there's no reversible insert. But Paramount Presents, it is kind of a limited edition. Here's an example of one. Once Upon a Time in the West. Now, I did a review on this. You can check that out on my channel. I'll leave a link to it in the comments below. It opens up like this, and you see like another poster inside. So it's kind of like a special, little special upgrade on the packaging. And they sometimes will release that before releasing a standard edition like this one here. Now, as far as the 4K transfer here, I think this is an excellent example of a really amazing, fantastic 4K transfer. Now, I don't have a previous release of this film. I don't have a DVD or another Blu-ray to compare it to. I do have the Blu-ray that came with this packaging, which I believe is the same transfer as the 4K. And I did take a look at the Blu-ray, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. But this, I don't know, this is I think of everything about the film, even though the film may not be, the film is entertaining and it is fast paced, but I think that this transfer is quite nice. I think especially you see the black levels. There's not that you don't necessarily always see some black crush, but they just look very well defined. Now the details are very sharp. The contrast is quite nice. There is some color correction there, but they didn't go overboard with it. It all looks. I guess, like I say, I've never seen this before this, but it all looks like it to me, like it should look. And it does have HDR grading on the 4K that brings out the skin tones and makes everything look more lifelike and more. It just kind of brings out those a lot more different colors than the Blu-ray. Now the Blu-ray, when I popped it in, I was expecting it to look a lot worse. To my surprise, it looked really good. It's very similar to the 4K. Clearly, the 4K is going to have more pixels, so it's going to have a little bit more detail. But I thought everything was looking fairly sharp. I didn't see anything too Now, now I think a Blu-ray, like, it can look really good. It just depends on how the transfer a lot of times. But this one does look good. I mean, it doesn't have the HDR like the 4K does. The 4K would be the better way of watching it. But both the 4K and the Blu-ray are very, very well done here, and for that I would recommend it for fans of the film, just, or even collectors like myself. The 4K is worth it just for the way that it looks. All right, let's go ahead and rate this film on a scale from 1 to 10. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to always rate things on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. I'm going to give this film a 3.5-star rating. I really think the film is a solid film. There's solid performances by Rachel McAdams and Cillian Murphy. I think that Cillian Murphy is very terrifying and menacing in this film, and Rachel McAdams displays a wide range of emotions, and I believed everything that she did. She really sold her performance in this film. I think because of the performances and the direction by Wes Craven, and also the production values, it might deserve a little higher rating than 3.5. But the reason I'm not going higher than that is because I feel like it's kind of been done a lot of times. But I do like the way that they concentrated more on those two characters for most of the film. And this film did keep my attention the whole time. Now, I did watch it all in one sitting, which is rare for me. So I will say that about the film, that it did capture that. Now, if you're a fan of tightly wound thrillers, or just a Wes Craven completist, if you feel like you have to have every single one of his films in your collection, which I would recommend, by the way, then this release is a no-brainer. I think this is a very solid release, and if you've seen this film, let me know your thoughts on it, and especially if you've seen the 4K transfer, let me know how fantastic you think that it looks. And there's this little bell thing, you could hit that, and if I drop a new video, it will just like pester the shit out of you. So you could hit that. I recommend doing that. And also, you could like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.